So, I guess we start here.
My journey started 300 days ago, where an innocent boat crash turned into trying to survive on an island where the sun never rises and is filled with your worst nightmares. Will I survive the tough days ahead, or will I lose everything? Please sit back, relax, and enjoy 100 days on Nightmare Island. It was the first chapter in many in this story, and the start of the real nightmare. Ironically enough, I was alone, with only the basic resources I had before the crash to try and survive with. Instantly, I was just attacked by mobs. Different creatures with improved strength and different abilities, so I hid myself away, cooking the food I previously had and trying to figure out a plan. It only took me until the next night to realize that the night, it's never gonna end. I had a goal here. I just wanted to try and move further inland. It wasn't safe on the edges of the ocean, and the mobs, they were definitely out in full force. It was raining, thundering, snowing, which really, honestly, didn't help my experience. It honestly just made it a little bit more difficult to move inland. But eventually, I found myself a village. Broken and almost abandoned, but enough of a place to start this adventure. And also a place to hide from my newest fear, the Banshee. I was collecting food that was left behind when I was attacked by literally a flying demon, and I think that was enough to put me in my place for now. Surprisingly, I actually really wanted to adventure. I knew at the start, as soon as I got here, that the island wasn't normal. I mean, the creatures, they were mythical-like, and that probably meant the items here were too. I took myself around the outside of the village. Not far enough away to worry about the flying demon, but close enough that if something went wrong, I could be what I called home in a heartbeat. This is when I found the abandoned house, and my first set of new items. I locked myself inside and found myself a bone pickaxe, a shield, and also a bone sword. But I was also trapped. Mobs had surrounded me, and it was definitely time to fight my way out. I think that's all of them. Still worried about that banshee, but... With my new loot acquired from the abandoned house, I next needed armor. However, the amount of mobs and their increased strength was really becoming a huge issue. Especially with no armor of my own to protect me and only literally the basic amount of tools. Although I actually felt surprisingly safer below than I did above. So I set off to work creating protection, as I'd sure as hell need it. Alright, just a quick update I guess from me. I don't exactly know what the plan is here. I just am literally, I've spent the last it's really hard to lose track of time, that's the problem. I guess few nights collecting iron and just other bits and pieces. But food's running low, and the only thing I can really think of is just going back to the village again. But I want full armor first because the stuff up there I'm not a fan of. But yeah, I guess I'll check in soon. I headed up to the surface with my newfound protection to just find darkness. And with that came a horde waiting for me. Everywhere I turned, it felt like I was trapped in a tiny box. I was alone, but the bonus here being I had some protection. I fought off what I could, but eventually, the mobs were too much for me. I headed back into the mine and I had to create myself an alternate exit. I needed a way home and definitely out of this situation. Unfortunately enough, just when I thought I was safe, the horde had followed me home. And it increased in size tenfold of what I was dealing with before. I was trapped. Literally trapped in a house, fighting them off in my doorway one by one. But eventually, after some time, literally just doing nothing but hiding, I saw my opening. I had drawn them to the front of the house and decided to escape through the back. Leaving what I had got used to behind. It was definitely a depressing sight, seeing my previous home overran, but it was time for something mythical. I didn't have an objective here, honestly. I just spent the nights traveling, trying to find a sign of just anything, literally anything that could just give me a way off this stupid island. The weather was awful, it was getting worse by the day, but just when I needed it, I found myself a small beacon of hope. As I got closer to the light, it looked like an abandoned boat dock, with a rowing boat similar to the one that I accidentally parked at the beach, and also with a book which read, "The island is one of three. The sun never rises, and the moon never sets. It's filled with creatures beyond your wildest nightmares. But there is a way out of here. Myself and my group could never finish it. Find all three artifacts. They're amulets that represent three elements, and with those, you'll be able to leave. Good luck to whoever finds this. May God be by your side always. Don't trust him." Don't trust who? There was nobody else on this island other than myself, but I had a way off the island. Off I set now with a goal in mind. to find the 3 ancient amulets of the island. I passed a variety of places on the route to what I called home, specifically coming across many smaller islands, and also a volcano which I actually did later want to explore, but knowing me, I'd probably die. I decided to make myself a mountainside home, something productive rather than pretty. This world was tough enough to survive in. I didn't have time to sit and make a regular family home, but with that off in mind, I set off to work breaking trees, clearing land, and starting to create something. The mobs however made this task difficult, but I knew what I needed to do. First get myself sorted, and then find myself the first amulet. The amulets at this point honestly felt like they were becoming a pure obsession. I wanted to find these as soon as possible, obviously so I could get home as soon as possible. I headed out to the first location I thought of now my house was completed, which in my mind was the volcano. When it came to location of treasures, I thought this was a place I'm pretty likely, and it was also a perfect start to the journey. It was an adventure, that's definitely for sure. Scaling the giant task in front of me was difficult, but definitely was rewarding. I arrived at the top to a sign saying trust myself, just there at the entrance to the volcano. And with that in mind, I noticed a chest right at the bottom. That had to be it. And to get down there, I really did have to trust myself, more than I usually did anyway. And with that in mind, it was down I headed, slowly but surely scaling down to get closer to my goal. When I arrived, I finally did it. With some new fire type hammer and some armor, I had the first amulet. I arrived back home to thunder and lightning. It was thunder and lightning that had been going on since I had actually entered the volcano. In the back of my mind, I definitely thought this couldn't be a coincidence. The island would seem to be like punishing me for trying to leave, so I had to keep the amulet close. I grabbed some wood and made myself a chest. It was safe for now, and finally I could relax, just that little bit. Time had passed since I first collected the item on this mysterious island, and I hadn't fully taken the time to reinforce my future. Not only was my house an absolute shambles, but my food source, it wasn't permanent at all. The mobs on this place were definitely limited, especially with no sun. So after setting out creating myself a small little farm, I worked on the house a little bit. It was a much needed break from the mess around me and the obsession because a man definitely needs time to think. I was unsure how much time had actually passed when I had finished, but the nightmares seemed to be becoming true. It actually hadn't stopped raining since my previous adventure to the volcano. The world around me was full of thunder, rain, and lightning, and more mobs than usual. I guess in this situation, my only care here was the amulet. So what I decided to do was just to wear it instead. It had special abilities that may help, and it's probably safer with me than it would be locked away in a chest. With the newfound confidence I had from wearing the amulet and its newfound powers, I spent a few nights underground. Like how I originally said earlier, it was kind of safe haven away from the nightmare I was having above ground. My goal here, just to collect diamonds, and it was actually a surprisingly fun task. Diamonds were coming in thick and fast, and the amulet was proving to be a good addition to my new arsenal, along with that pesky little fire hammer too. I mean, the amulet combined with the hammer was making the collection time easy, and I ended the adventure with more than enough diamonds to complete my next task. I was home again after collecting my new riches to, surprisingly enough, yet again more rain. I really wasn't sure how long this was going to last, but I wanted to put away what I'd collected, and definitely prepare myself for the adventure that would be the other 2 amulets on this island. And with that thought, I used a few of the diamonds I collected to make myself a diamond Spartan bow. It actually looked like just a regular bow, just diamond encrusted. Another weapon that hopefully could help me get out of here. I could honestly feel that something big was coming. I wanted to finish my preparation in the best way possible. I just wanted to create myself a small little farm, just something that could really help my ability just to stay in the fight longer. At the same time, I was tired, I was drained, and I really had no idea where the second amulet was. But I couldn't let that stop me. I had work to do, and I didn't have that much time to finish it. You know those days where you just get a really stupid thought? This was definitely that day. I really wanted to try something. I just wanted to try sleep. This may come across a really stupid decision, but maybe it just was that simple. Sleeping, however, uncovered new things for me. A vision, or a dream, of what looked like brightly lit caves and the monster that haunted me. It was definitely a sign. I suddenly knew what to do. It's like sleeping, pun intended, had really just awoken a feeling here. One that had given me the location of the second amulet. Another step closer to getting off this wretched island. So I got prepared with food and arrows and set off ahead on a long journey. With myself physically and also mentally prepared, which is definitely important, I took my little rowboat to the place I called the Shining Caves. The moment I took off though, I was ambushed by thunder and lightning. It was like a warning in a way. This was definitely going to be a very long journey. The journey itself definitely took a lot longer than I had originally anticipated. I was already beaten and bruised by the harsh weather conditions by the time I arrived to the entrance, but I decided just to put those thoughts aside, and with that going on, I went inside. It was dark and seriously gave me some kind of fright. I moved my way through the huge abode in front of me, clearing whatever was in my way, with my eyes only set on one thing, the prize at the end of it. It felt like a dream that would seriously never end. It was one difficulty after another until I eventually came across it. After searching for a while, the chest was in my sights, and I had finally got the second amulet. I arrived back home to a sense feeling of pride. All seemed to be doing okay, if you can call everything that's going on okay. I decided though to spend some time to myself, creating some diamond tools and equipping my new amulet. I refused to leave the strength amulet, as I called it, in a chest, so I kept that pretty close. This one also had new abilities that would definitely help me out. With the mood high, I decided to upgrade what equipment and tools that I currently had. I had everything I really needed, apart from one item here, which was obsidian. I only needed 4 to create my new enchanting table, so off I set down into the deep dark, getting myself one step closer to victory. With the obsidian collected, it was time to return, just to be able to help myself progress. I was making my way home from my adventure when I was attacked. This was a brand new creature, and I may have slightly started to panic. However, with it gone, I realized I was missing one more item on my return home, leather. So off I set once again into the darkness. With leather collected and a little bit of time passed, it was time to stop stalling and make myself a brand new enchanting table. The enemies outside definitely hit hard, so it would be a nice refreshing experience whilst enchanting to finally feel a little protected. I had another thought. I wasn't sure how this would go, as the last time felt really like dumb luck, but once again, I decided to try and sleep, and was shown not only the creature, but an abandoned house that looked too familiar. I knew where I had to go. With myself mentally and also physically prepared, and after killing myself a pesky little banshee, I headed out into the distance. I knew I was coming near the end, and I knew my nightmare was close to being over. It was one more trip, one more amulet, and just one more night. I had arrived at my final task, the one that had been brewing over this whole adventure. My goal was really just close to being completed. It was really just so close I could feel it. But on arriving, a horde was in my way. It took a very long time to fight my way through. Not only did I not want to die just right here at the end and also right now, I was also being overly cautious about it, really just taking care on every step. Before I knew it, and after killing more mobs than I wanted to count, I was at the house. I started ripping up the floor, finding a ladder which led me to a chest. I had finally completed the task that so many had failed, and really, it was easy. This made me think. The book had warned me about trust. Who couldn't I trust? I had warning after warning, and when heading up I realized the book was a lie. There was no leaving.